Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. On today's show, Duane Towes visits with Dane Dolechek with U.S. Custom Harvesters. Then enjoy this week's Kansas Soybean update. Next, Kyle Bauer and John Caupert talk about the National Corn to Ethanol Research Center at Southern Illinois University. Then Melissa Brewer from Certified Angus Beef talks about the importance of knowing what customers crave. And we'll end today's show with Plain Talk featuring Kyle and Duane. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first today, Duane Towes visits with Dane Dolechek with the U.S. Custom Harvesters.
Duane Towes joining once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Dane Dolechek with U.S. Custom Harvesters. Dane, has been a tough couple of years for the custom harvesting business, be it acres or weather. You guys have had a tough run.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. I mean, like you said, those have been the main issues. As farmers aren't wanting to plant wheat, not that interested in it, and it's pushed a lot of stuff into the fall crops. And that's, been all right. It's just making it a lot more drawn-out process.
We think about issues that custom harvesters have. I suspect not only looking for opportunities and acres to cut, the flip side would be on the help side and the employees. Talk to us a little bit about the employee management side and what it takes for those custom harvesters.
Well, it's pretty difficult. We are seasonal. Most of our workforce is seasonal, and so it's hard to get people to want to come back and do that every year. So if we don't get that, then we're having to train guys every year. And as you know, with getting CDL licenses for it to be hauling our grain away, or just even operating the equipment these days, it's very tough you have to have a somewhat skilled workforce to achieve that. And so that forces us to go foreign. The foreign labor laws and issues with this new Goodlatte bill is something very important to us and that we're keeping close tabs on.
Other issues that affect custom harvesters as you move from state to state?
Somewhat. We taken care of a lot of that in the years past. We've had to work on our crossing state lines exemption this year with under 18-year-old kids. We can do that as custom harvesters with our exemption. But just trying to get things a little more uniform, weight laws, the new 90,000-pound weight law, and that's helped, been a benefit for us. And just working with that, and then even crossing the state lines with the foreign help. That requires special exemptions within that H-2A law that we have to make sure it gets passed in the new bill as well.
Certainly a lot of things that I think most people don't realize that they deal with, on top of the fact that you're trying to manage an enterprise that has a huge amount of capital investment.
Yeah, it's just the price of equipment is crazy now these days, as everyone knows, and dealers just aren't wanting to work very well with us to get traded into new equipment. So we are having to run older equipment, and that's more burdensome to a lot of people, and just something that we have to do and kind of go with the ebb and flow of the business.
Well, Dane, thanks so much for joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Dane representing a U.S. Custom Harvesters. I'm Duane Towes. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas corn, with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Steve Swaffer, Executive Director of No-Till on the Plains Incorporated, joins us. And Steve, during the month of May, No-Till on the Plains and the Kansas Soybean Commission will be hosting 2 spring soybean field days.
Yeah, Greg, through the generous grant given to us by the Commission, we're going to have field days on May 2nd at Windham, Kansas, and May 8th at Clay Center, Kansas, with the focus being on soybean production using cover crops to help manage resistant weed in guys' fields. And so we have 2 host farms that have put out a couple of demonstration areas as well as using them across their farm that will help people see the ability of cover crops with soybean production and controlling some of these more troublesome resistant weeds that we've got out there today.
There's definitely an economic part of this in being able to use cover crops, say in comparison with traditional herbicide uses.
One of the real advantages here is that you can put your money into seed instead of the chemical program and hopefully get some more effectiveness there. That's one of the things that these guys will share with the attendees is the actual economics of the process that they've been through to contrast the investment that they've made in the seed instead of the herbicide program, and then maybe even some extra benefit by getting a little bit of income by using livestock with these cover crops as well.
And if people want more information about what should be some great informational events, what's the best way they can do that?
So they can go to our website at notill.org, and we've got some flyers as well as a registration sign-up area for these field days, and we'll provide the lunch for them. Yeah, notill.org is the best place to get the information.
Is there a deadline date to get your reservation in?
We'd like to have people sign up by April 27th just so we can have a meal for everybody.
And it's so important nowadays to talk about this, especially with what we have seen with these resistant weeds.
The management strategy has just gotten a little different to handle these resistant weeds, and through cover crops and soil health and crop rotation, we think we can get just a little better handle on the outbreaks of these weeds and maybe break some of these cycles as well. So these guys have been doing this for a while, and they'll share their successes and their struggles along the way with anybody that wants to come.
All right, Steve, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
That is Steve Swaffer, Executive Director of No-Till on the Plains Incorporated, who joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more with Kyle Bauer and John Caupert as they talk about the National Corn to Ethanol Research Center in Edwardsville, Illinois.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here, the time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
This Medford, New Jersey school bus runs on biodiesel, and so do these. In fact, all of these buses run on clean-burning biodiesel, which is great because the more we use biodiesel in our heavy-duty vehicles, the less carbon pollution in our air. Think how great it would be if more of our school buses ran on biodiesel. More biodiesel, less carbon pollution. More is less. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source, together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now Kyle and John Caupert talk about advancements and research into corn to ethanol production.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I have the opportunity to visit with John Caupert. He's Executive Director of the National Corn and Ethanol Research Center in Edwardsville, Illinois. I think a lot of people in Kansas have no idea about this organization, but it has a lot to do with the ethanol plants all over the nation.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity to visit today. So the National Corn to Ethanol Research Center, we were a creation of the 1997 Farm Bill. We were a $14 million federal appropriation out of the research title of that Farm Bill. That $14 million was matched with $7 million from the state of Illinois, administered through the Illinois Department of Commerce. We opened our doors in October of 2003 to fulfill the mission and purpose of assisting companies in the private sector with commercializing new and innovative technologies to be utilized in the biofuel space.
Truly, over the years, as the ethanol industry has matured, it has gotten a great deal more efficient, and that wasn't by just happen chance.
That's a really good point. We commissioned a study back in calendar years 2014 and 2015, and what that study determined was out of the 202 corn ethanol plants that were operating at the time, every single one of those ethanol plants was utilizing at least one product or one technology that had passed through the doors of our facility on its commercialization pathway. A very high percentage of these products and technologies has helped with or added to ethanol yield and the benefits of ethanol production.
Well, as I looked at the brochure of your plant, when commercial plants, there's huge volumes and huge machinery investments. You do that on a much smaller scale.
One of the huge advantages of companies in the private sector coming to our nonprofit research center is that two things. Number one is we have the ability to fully simulate the commercial corn to ethanol production process, but we do it at about 1/250th scale of a commercial corn to ethanol process. What does that mean for our clientele? What it means is they can fully simulate a process at a fraction of the cost of doing it at the commercial scale.
Now, do they bring those ideas to you for you to work on, or do you bring ideas to them to fund?
It's a great question, and it's a great point. A fairly high percentage of the time, it's the clientele bringing the ideas to us, bringing the product or the technology or the innovation to us. While we were created by the federal government, we are completely self-funded. About 83% of our funding comes in the form of contractual research that we're doing with companies in the private sector. Again, those are examples of companies bringing ideas, products, technologies to us. But that work is complemented by self-initiated research where we're generating the idea or the concept.
You know, and small changes can make huge differences. A 1% increase in output on a 40 million gallon plant is a lot of difference at the end of the year.
That's absolutely right. It's all about scale. And that's what we find ourselves talking about constantly with vendors in the biofuels industry, is that a very small percentage. It's some of the newer, more modern corn to ethanol plants that are 100 million gallon and larger in scale. My goodness, 0.5% increase in yield means millions of dollars to their bottom line.
And some of your research also involves with saving energy to make their costs lower.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. We've looked at everything from anaerobic digestion. We've looked at front-end fractionation. We've looked at back-end deoiling. You name it, we've been involved in it. And a major area of emphasis over the years has obviously been on power and energy savings, water utilization, utilization of back-end products in the corn to ethanol process. Yes.
We've been visiting with John Caupert. He is the Executive Director of the National Corn and Ethanol Research Center in Edwardsville, Illinois. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Come back after the break for Melissa Brewer, Director of Communications with Certified Angus Beef.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
My name's Karen Cope, and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but you know what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. You know, after stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before, because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. You know, they all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? You know, where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor. Now Melissa Brewer talks about the importance of knowing what the beef consumer craves.
Today, it takes more than a well-marbled steak to catch the eye of the average beef shopper.
Today's consumer is one that's hit with a variety of messages at a very, very fast pace. And as you can imagine, even as you go out yourself to the meat case to look at what you're going to purchase in some of those different claims, it's hard to cut through the clutter.
Even though they're flooded with marketing messages and information, data shows consumers only crave more.
As we looked at some of the research coming out of the Power of Meat study that was done over this past year, it indicates that consumers have continual interest in wanting to know more about the labels that they're seeing in the stores, wanting to know more about how their food is raised, how their meat is raised. And so I think that's a good opportunity for us to look across the category. As we look specifically at Certified Angus Beef brand, I would say that our sales and our consumers are mirroring what we're also seeing there. So today about 98% of our consumers are choosing our traditional beef, but we still have a small percentage that are looking to our natural product as well as our Certified Angus Beef brand prime. That's no different than what they found in the Power of Meat study that indicated that some of these labels are of interest to the consumers, but there's still a small section of what's being offered and what consumers are still willing to pay that dollar for.
Is today's consumer really that different from the beef eaters of yesterday?
Today, consumers are really looking for a different kind of value proposition than I would say that they've looked for in the past 5 years, even in 10 years. Today, they're still wanting that quality promise and something that our brand has been known to deliver for a really long time. But they're also looking for a brand or products that have another value proposition, really looking at bringing more of that emotion into the purchasing of the products that they're choosing to serve to their family.
Brewer says ownership by the American Angus Association is a unique position that allows for creative storytelling, helping consumers feel good about the brand they choose at the meat case.
I think that's a great opportunity, especially as we as a brand and the entire beef community continue to look at how we can engage that consumer and simply just opening our doors and talking more about what we're doing, knowing that their true interest is learning more about the beef and knowing that what they're putting on the table is safe and wholesome.
While a brand with shared values that can connect in a digital world is vital, the most important part of a beef buying decision is still flavor.
their top priority is taste. There's no doubt in my mind. So you look at all of the generations and what really continues to bring them back to the table, and that's they want a product that tastes great and performs great. And so that's exciting as we look across the beef industry, the beef community, and can really continue to have that high ground, but look at how we continue to engage that consumer in another way, so that we can expand their portfolio, their experiences, and offer the tips and tools to make them successful when they're dining out or eating at home.
For the people who supply the brand, it all means marbling is still key. But now the story also adds value. I'm Bob Cervera.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm, so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
Hi, I'm Randy.
And I'm Paul from PFI.
We would like to personally invite you to stop by PFI, home of Boot Daddies.
PFI is America's Western store, covering over 50,000 square feet.
Over 25,000 boots.
Visit Saddle City with the largest selection of saddles and tack anywhere.
A huge selection of hats at Big Spur Hat Company in PFI Town.
And choose from the best brands of clothing and accessories for the entire family.
PFI, located on Highway 65 at the Battlefield exit in Springfield. And I'm not kidding.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to today on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk with Duane Allen Toews.
Kyle Bauer, your fact or fiction question of the day. Much like humans, lobsters suffer from heart disease. Fact or fiction?
I know they don't have much of a brain. I assume they have to have a heart. Heart disease. They live to be pretty old, though. Yeah, I'm going to go with fiction.
It is fiction. I tried to trick you up on that.
Because they're pretty old.
Lobsters actually grow old, don't grow old and die. They have no ailment that will cause their demise. It's only from predation, be it human or some other ocean-going predator.
I know I was at a restaurant one time where they had the live lobster in a tank, and they had this one guy. He was big. And they said they thought he was probably 30 years old. Wow.
That's kind of wild. I've heard of like a 60-year-old one time.
Really?
And then I've seen twice I've seen a blue lobster on national media where they've caught a blue lobster. And that's a genetic outlier, but that'd be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind tripping over to, I don't know, Boston or wherever.
To eat a blue lobster?
Check out. No, I wouldn't.
Just to see it. Just to see him.
I'm a big zoo person.
Did you know early on, in the early days of the colonies up in Boston area, that indentured servants, it's a law up there that they did not have to eat lobster more than 3 days a week.
Oh, really?
It was a poor man's food. And they were just everywhere.
Sure.
And so, it's like, well, it's kind of like us beanie weenies, right? It was like I don't want lobster one more day.
Again.
Yeah. It's like no more lobster. I love going to that area, though, but we have a tradition in our family that every time you eat a meal, including breakfast, you have to have clam chowder.
Oh, really?
And so it's... So
probably
you
a
taste,
good thing was not reared in your family.
Well, yeah,
there are a lot of reasons for that.
You'd have been skinnier, probably.
I'm not a big clam chowder eater.
Yeah, well, it's a fun tradition because there's a lot of difference in them, and so I come to think of it though, I'm just thankful every day that you weren't part of our family.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.